Hello again, everyone. This match is between JHobz and UncleRonny. It's a singles match, as you can see in the 1-1 bracket. My name is Gramelios, and I'm joined by Aiko. What's up, Aiko?
Not much. I'm excited to watch this match. As you mentioned, it is 1-1, which means that because we are doing a best out of 5, rather, or a Swiss format where you need at least 3 rounds to continue in the bracket, neither of our players is in danger of being eliminated. However, should they lose, they will be sent to 1-2, also known as the Hydra Zone.
I could not have put it better myself. We've said a bunch of times this tournament that, the benefit of a Swiss format is that in theory the matches get closer and closer, but this is randomizer, so it kind of does, and it also kind of doesn't. You can kind of get screwed at any stage of the Swiss, which it's fun to watch. Sometimes it's not as fun to play, but I think these runners will be pretty evenly matched. Hobbs, I believe, has more randomizer experience. Not a huge amount more, but he does have more. But arguably Ronny, well, not even arguably, Ronny does have better execution overall from all skills. That said, Hobbs is also a very skilled all skills runner.
Yeah, I think definitely we will see sort of an interesting dichotomy where I think Hobbs is better at rando and routing, but Ronny just has literally world record execution. So the closer a seed is to a jet seed, perhaps, Ronny might feel more advantage, especially if Dash shows up early, where a longer, more complicated seed might favor Hobbs.
Right, well, and I also, the reason I hesitated when I mentioned execution a moment ago is that there's execution and then there's randomizer execution. Like you said, if this is a jet seed and Ronny gets a lot of the skills that he is used to in all skills, thus allowing him to do a lot of the same movements as all skills, he'll probably be just absolutely thrilled about that. That said, there are a lot of random specific movement and things you have to get used to, and in that aspect, I'd say that Hobbs and Ronny are probably closer. Would you agree?
Yeah, I definitely think that makes a lot of sense. And really, like, having a lot of all skills experience with specific kinds of tricks can be sometimes a bit of, like, it can be a little difficult to get used to the rando variants, because sure, Stompless, you can do Stompless or Sorrow Bash every time, but can you do Sorrow Bash when you have 3 jumps, 1 jump, no glide, charge dash is your only other verticality? That is the kind of thing that the randomizer is going to ask you.
Time will tell. We are getting kicked off. Hobbs on the left, Ronny on the right. I'd be remiss, and I think Hobbs would be disappointed in me when he watches this back if I didn't say I really, really want the first 2 pickups to be Bash and Grenade. Oh my god!
Oh my god! What?
Alright, that's 1 out of 2. We're 50% of the way to the Bash Grenade seed that Hobbs loves.
No.
He praises it, he wants it to happen. I know he does.
It's his favorite. Nice little bash off the lantern from Ronny. I love how much it swings. So much momentum there.
Yeah. Okay. Ronny's gonna get the second pickup first. It's okay. It's not
ability. Okay.
Bash is a great ability, to be clear. Bash is a wonderful ability. Bash and Grenade is a powerful combination, but it's far worse on controller than it is for keyboard mouse. Ronny on the right is on keyboard mouse, and Hobbs plays on controller, although he might switch to KBM for a Bash Grenade seed. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how different players adapt to the different styles of, or like get around the Bash Grenade thing. Some people have like different bindings. Poogle, I think, has the record for most interesting in that she plays left hand on the controller and right hand on a mouse when grenade bashing. I find
that's why you need rebindable keys in your video game, so that people can just come up with really weird, janky ways to play that is comfortable for them, and that's all that matters. All right, we got a skill, but it's not grenade. So Hobbs.
It breaks plants, though.
It does. It does. It breaks plants. It can also break enemies by damaging them. Still no grenade, which, well, it's something. Going down to fake flippers here, by the way, is easier because you can bash off the fish. Only 37 experience this time, though.
Well, it's enough to level them up, which will be nice. It means that they can spend energy. They have to do Frankie Walk now. It is the only thing left in logic.
Yeah, I actually
can be a little annoying, but
I actually hesitated for a minute, and then I'm like, oh yeah, you can do this. Hobbs with a nice double bash. Ronny just, a tiny bit ahead of him. Although this early in the seed, it's somewhat meaningless. The seed hasn't opened up yet. There's really been no decision making yet.
Yeah, exactly. And really, just small mistakes early on don't matter as much as, okay, there we go, second keystone.
That keeps the seed extremely linear, getting the second keystone as opposed to getting like, well, something else.
Yeah, like a teleporter or, God forbid, grenade. Actually, grenade would have kept it extremely linear because that would have opened up literally one pickup, which is just the door.
By the way, like a very, very minor thing I just want to point out. In all skills, you never go underneath the second slime. You always go above. So Ronnie actually went above the slime, Hobbs dropped down, and he's still behind because Ronnie got a ghost door and didn't watch the door opening cutscene, but that's just a very trivial example of one of these little rando specific pieces of movement that you kind of have to get used to.
Yeah, okay, so a couple things. Hobbs went right and he got wind restored. Ronnie's also going to find that. That's not going to do anything for them now. But also, is that 2 keystones? Or, no, it's just 1 keystone and a map stone. If they get 2 keystones, the lower half of Fear Cavern is in logic because even without walls, Ronnie? Oh, he really wanted Rekindle. That is, at 1 life, at no health, that is absolutely understandable. I actually really like that as a safety move. Just going back there gives him a save, and now he'll have energy.
I mean, yeah, optimizing randomizers. I mean, typically, like, if someone wants to play randomizer, you don't have to speedrun the randomizer. But if you're going to, you cannot expect it to be as optimal as a regular speedrun. And so you sometimes just have to take a gamble like that on the fly and say, it is probably more optimal to backtrack and prevent myself from losing a ton of time to a death than it is to continue pushing forward and then lose a lot of time.
Yeah, I think safety moves are really great, especially this early when you don't have that much energy to save. It could have cost him like a minute and a half to die there.
Ooh. Hobbs just got sniped! Unbelievable, oh that's God. A huge death.
Yeah, that is exactly like the amount of time we were talking about. Like, this is what Ronnie was trying to protect himself against, because when you have Charge Flame, and you have to use it for, oh wow, hold on. Ronnie just got Glide, so that gives him Glide and Wind Restored, although that doesn't actually unlock anything that they haven't already had in Logic, which is kind of hilarious.
Right, but it means that Sorrow is going to be, you know, pretty free later on. There's a lot you can do in, like, Misty in a lot of places. There's the grenade, so now it's a Bash Grenade Seed with Glide, Bash Glides for extra speed. I just need to reiterate again how unlucky a death that was for Hobbs. I mean, it was technically his fault, but like he did everything right. He got the level up and just tried to bash to the left, got sniped and fell down into the Frankie. He's not going to be happy about that, but there's a lot of seed left.
Yeah, there is. However, he is going to continue his unhappy streak when he catches up and realizes that Bash Grenade is the progression, and oh my God, there's the wall interaction up there in the Spirit Caverns. Ronnie has found, been just on a roll. He's found Grenade, he's found Glide, he just got Wall Jump, and the Grotto Teleporter, which puts a huge amount of things in logic for him, especially with that Wind and Glide.
Yeah, it puts 3 skill trees, well, more than that if you sequence break, but at least 3 skill trees immediately pretty much in logic too. Our runners already have Charge Flame, which lets you get access to the Charge Flame tree. You can get to the Wall Jump tree, obviously. You can get to the Dash tree. Hobbs just died again, but this time his save was closer.
Alright. Yeah, that is good that he had a save. Still has to feel really bad. Yeah, additionally, you can get to the Double Jump tree, and it is not in logic due to the Stomp tree, but both these players are going to be familiar with All-Skill Swamp entry. Yeah,
that's right. Ronnie is already reaping the benefits of that Bash Grenade. So far, he hasn't used it for anything incredibly fancy, but if you just pay attention to when Hobbs gets his grenade, how fast he can, or how much time it takes him to aim the grenades every single time, as opposed to Ronnie, who's just going to be able to very, very quickly and easily toss a grenade exactly where he needs it to.
Yeah, and Ronnie now checking that upper pickup in the tree at spawn. It's a grenade pickup, but he doesn't find anything. I think he's probably heading over to the Charge Flame tree right now.
Yeah, why do you think he might go to Charge Flame rather than going to Blackroot first? Or another area?
I think the Charge Flame tree is just a nice little dead end that you can Altar after, and doing it this way means that he will get his 3rd clue when he activates the Blackroot dash tree, which can be really nice. He can full clear both areas, though.
That's what I was thinking, too. This is going to be skill tree number 2 for Ronnie. Hobbs, because of that kind of catastrophic death right at the start, is stuck at one skill tree. Also moving very slowly because I believe he bash glided over. You can still get past this. You just have to use bash grenade to do it.
So obnoxious. Oh no.
Yeah, he'll be fine when he alt-Rs as well. It's just obnoxious. But JHobz hasn't gone to Spirit Caverns, so JHobz doesn't have wall jumping where Ronny does.
Yeah.
So
and here we see.
It's okay. Okay, I was going to say JHobz also has a decision to go to Spirit Caverns or to go to a number of trees. Looks like he's heading down here. He might be going to Grotto or he might be going to Blackroot.
Yeah, I could see either play making sense. The Wallace Blackroot can be pretty spooky. All right, he's going in. And both of them with Bash Grenade can skip basically all of the like time sinks that Blackroot has to offer. With Bash Grenade, you can skip every moving lantern or like moving platform segment with varying degrees of difficulty. Glide makes that a lot easier, and because Grenade can light the lanterns around here, they really don't need to do basically any of it. They can just go where they need to go and grab the pickups along the way.
Yeah, I like Ronny's movement. Like you said, rather than jumping over some of these platforms, he just bashed upward off the slime and then did a bash glide to the left. With Feather, you can carry those bash glides for a long way. If double jump makes an appearance, Ico, then you start getting even longer bash glides, which is not as fast as dash, but it can be pretty quick.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love just like double bat or like bash grenade wind or like bash grenade feather double triple jump movement. That is just some of the most. It's honestly relaxing. Just like very fast moving. You just sort of get to glide along. Definitely my favorite, like preferred horizontal movement speed technique.
So to sort of recap where we're at so far, at first the seed is very, very linear. What's interesting is that the runners are still playing in exactly the same way, or almost exactly the same way, except that now the seed is no longer linear. But both runners decided to go to Blackroots. I guess Ronny has already gone to the Charge Flame tree. So Ronny is not only ahead in Blackroot, he's also ahead, well, even more so than that.
Yeah, I think it makes a fair amount of sense to want to go to just like get Blackroot out of the way either way, because you could just check with all these pickups. I think that like the ordering of these three, of like the Spirit Caverns, Charge Flame tree, and Blackroot, honestly basically a toss-up, just that you should probably get all of them out of the way before going to Grotto. So I don't think that it's super surprising that we're seeing them do these areas at the same time.
Well, it's something we say about Blackroot pretty frequently, is that it's hard to make it go much faster. With Bash Grenade, you can skip a lot of it, which is nice, but you know, you have to wait for a lot of cutscenes. You have to carry the orb at least a certain amount. So there's a sort of a limit to how fast you can go. And there's only a handful of pickups too.
Yeah, so Blackroot is just one of those things you want to get for the tree, and because it's in logic early, not because like it's an efficient area. It just like there's a tree there, you can get burned really easily if you don't check it, and if you do it all the way through, you get a teleporter. But like these skills are like the early game skills that you're just not unhappy about going to Blackroot with, honestly. You can just skip the two biggest like skippable things, which is like all of the jumping puzzles, right?
Yep. Let's talk for a moment about the clue that we got. What clue did we get, Ica?
We saw that the water vein is going to be in Grove, which doesn't actually. It tells us that like the water vein will be accessible early, probably, but there's a large number of areas that are Grove.
There certainly are, but with Grenade, well, I was going to say at least, you know, a handful of the pickups in Grove are locked by Grenade, but we have Grenades, so that's not going to be a problem.
Yep. Ooh, okay. Ronny just killed his frog, which is pretty spooky. It doesn't look like he's going to reload either. He found the Sorrow teleporter under the boulder escape rock, and he is, oh my god, he's not going to be punished at all because he just fine stomped there with the sequence break. That is...
See, dude, Ica, when you finished talking, I was literally going to say, oh, that could be, you know, a leg up for JHobz, and it's like, nope, not anymore.
Wow.
Well, that's even more impactful than just, you know, later considerations of getting to Light Grenade. Is JHobz going to do that sequence break? I'm guessing not, when he also has, like, wall jump area in Spirit Caverns and Charge Flame and Grotto on the table. I'm guessing he won't do that sequence break.
It's a trickier thing to do when you have, when you don't have wall interaction, for sure. But, like, the other thing to note is that that pickup was in logic. They have the Grotto teleporter, glide, and win, so that like hanging cell pickup, that stomp was in logic for them. So it's really interesting because that sort of retroactively means stomping the peg was also kind of in logic.
Yeah, that's right. And JHobz, I seriously doubt will miss the Stomp pickup. He just won't get it as soon, which is not a big deal right now. Stomp can be nice to take out enemies very quickly, but Grenade kind of satisfies that as well.
Yeah, where it will matter more is later, and I mean, one place it might matter is using that Star Teleporter. They have Glide, they have Wind, or I guess Wind doesn't matter. They have Glide, Bash, and Stomp, so they could, in theory, get something out of the Star Teleporter. So I don't think now would be the time. Is Ronnie gonna save drop?
He might be save dropping. I mean, he doesn't have 4 energy, nor does he have a Mega Energy, so he can't do this normally. Yep, yeah, he's backing up the save.
All right, yeah. Excellent.
For those unaware, I'll explain it just because this doesn't come up too frequently. This is a long-known trick in Ori where if you make a save in midair using a save anywhere, when you respawn, you get ray traced straight downward to whatever surface is beneath you. Well done by Ronnie. In that case, he used it to zombie Ori and spawn it down below, even though he couldn't get past the puzzle normally. Like I said, it's just a trick that rarely comes up in Randomizer. Or anyone's for that matter.
And there's nothing down there. I really like that. He quits out, instead of dying, just like reverts to his save to like put him farther back up and keep that ability point unspent. So that's a really nice use of the backup in the case where you didn't need it.
Yeah, JHobz, meanwhile, made it to the charged flame tree, which means he also has his water vein in Grove Clue. JHobz also went and checked the ability cell above the 4th health cell, which is something he had checked before, but then he died in the early game. So either he just wanted to be thorough, or JHobz actually remembered that that was a keystone. Either way, I'm glad he checked it. Yeah. This seed is sort of gearing up to potentially be very, very fast, and so keystones start to matter a lot more.
Yeah. Alright, so we have Ronnie finding Climb as JHobz picks up wall jump. So we got a little bit of a wall interaction high five. It was the map stone down in Grotto, which Ronnie just picked up with Climb. I feel like I've seen Climb there before today. But at any rate, we're going to see Ronnie does the mini boss. He can do it quickly because he has Bash. It's Keystone.
Okay, JHobz, meanwhile, did make it through Spirit Caverns. He's taking an intentional... No, he's not. He's going to key dupe. He's going to key dupe his 2 keys and go into Grove. This is an area that Ronnie has not been to yet. Going into this area will not only unlock a teleporter if JHobz decides to unlock it, but it'll give JHobz access to Valley Entry and the Spider Sack area, which might have something very valuable. I'm guessing that the reason JHobz is doing this is that he knows the water vein is in Grove. Yeah,
I think that Valley Entry is definitely like a place that we could see something that Ronnie might not get, and if like Dash is there for something, that could be JHobz's ticket back into the seed.
Yeah, well, Ronnie is not making this easy for JHobz. Really hasn't made any major mistakes to speak of, has been very efficient, even got like that first try save drop down in the Grotto Vault. So Ronnie will be reaching double jump pretty soon, which for him will be tree number 4 out of 10. JHobz still sitting at 3 and hasn't been to Grotto at all, but JHobz is currently heading into the Valley entrance.
Yeah, we'll see what he can find here. There are 3 pickups that he can grab easily. There's 1, Keystone. Pickup 2 is the Forlorn Teleporter, so might be relevant.
Might be relevant. I'm guessing that JHobz, unless he's feeling particularly bold, is not going to go there until he has a map stone. That's arguably the best usage of the teleporter. Just go get a map stone out of the way.
Well, I mean, like, we don't have our Sunstone clue, so SS Forlorn is like a real thing we could see, and in which case he'll be very happy as a teleporter, but, you know, it's not, like, especially long odds.
Well, it's also worth pointing out that... technically speaking, even though JHobz has every ability, like the game will not prevent him from teleporting to Forlorn, it's not in logic until he has the Gumon Seal. Which, for all we know, could be the next pickup, so that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely wouldn't make sense for JHobz to go to Forlorn now, and I really like what we're seeing from Ronnie. He's showing off some definitely not the kind of thing you see in all skills at all, which is backtracking into Death Gauntlet, taking the upper route to the energy cell with like a bash grenade, and then climbing on the wall. Definitely plenty of improvisation there. He charge flames through the Death Gauntlet roof, and is able to clean up everything here except the poison water, and he doesn't find anything.
Yeah, I mentioned before that Ronnie is kind of new to Randomizer. I should be clear, he's not like new to Randomizer. He's not, you know, ignorant or anything like that. And he's showing off a lot of Randomizer specific knowledge and a lot of very, very smart routing. Like even backtracking through Grotto is something that is often skipped because if you have 4 energy, you can get there very easily from spawn and not potentially waste a return trip. Anyway, JHobz is trying to do an energy glitch, but he only has 2 energy, I think. Right?
Yeah,
So this energy glitch works by getting an energy trapped in the door. When you have 3 energy, you then go refill and put in the other 3. JHobz can't do that right now.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's trying to do a like magnet play or something. I'm also.
It could also just be a case of. This sounds harsher than I mean it to, but it could be a case of just not thinking clearly. Well, never mind. There's a mega energy. JHobz knew it was up all along.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, because if he did, he wouldn't have bothered getting the dirt. I mean, it's possible that one of the many pickups he's about to check is a energy cell, and that would set him up perfectly to open it, right? So. Oh. That's something. Yeah. Wow. A real thing that is happening.
Well, one thing I do like, Aiko, is that both Ronnie and JHobz are continuing to be very, very thorough. It definitely makes sense for JHobz to do this because the water vein is in Grove. So apart from JHobz just wanting more stuff in general, he specifically wants to check Grove. This is something that Ronnie might have to come back through later. JHobz hasn't found the water vein yet, though, so it could be in the spider, like, coves area.
Yeah.
Did Ronnie go through there yet?
I don't think so. Ronnie came here, I believe, from the Grotto teleporter, so he would have come around and done the loop up from above, which means he'll be heading left past the Ginso tree into that Hollow Grove main room where the Swamp teleporter and Kuro CS happens.
Well, pay attention to the left right now. There's a decent likelihood that water vein is one of these pickups. It might not be, but it might be, so there it is. That's the water vein.
There it is. And yeah, if Ronnie is heading left to right through this entire area, no, actually he's going to Stomp Tree. Some all skills access. I guess maybe he just wants to know where all of the dungeon keys are before he does hunting. I actually generally like that as an approach because if you like just go for tree access first, then you get you can find skills along the way that can make your hunt easier. And you can also find dungeon keys, you know, like the Sunstone, just hanging out. That's nice.
Sometimes you need clues, and sometimes you just simply don't. JHobz is being thorough. JHobz is generally a thorough player. When I feel like I repeat this phrase at every single randomizer seed, but it's generally applicable as like, when is JHobz's thoroughness, or you know, the runner's thoroughness, gonna lead them to the correct area? Because JHobz will definitely find the Sunstone. It's right there, but how long is it gonna take him?
Yeah, and I mean, it could be that like he finds another skill and gets to where he feels like he's in lumberjack mode, and he takes a different path entirely. Like, hypothetical situation, JHobz finds charge jump. It's like, oh, this is go mode, and he's got the Grotto teleporter, right? He wouldn't take the upper path, would he? I wouldn't.
No, probably not. By the way, JHobz just found the Swamp teleporter, which is not the most exciting teleporter in the world, but JHobz hasn't actually been there yet, so that's a small time save for JHobz. Doesn't have to push the rock and all that stuff.
Yeah,
here's a question then. Sorry, yeah, JHobz, is he going to go up top towards Swamp area, or is he going to come through this way? Looks like he's going to come through this way.
So, I could see him dipping in either way. The thing is, he's going to go this way, yeah. I think if he didn't have the Swamp teleporter, what he would have done was gone up, activated the teleporter, and used Glide plus Wind to get the cell that's to the left of Ginso, but I think because he does have that teleporter now, it's not worth just going there as a one-off.
Well, look at this, by the way. JHobz not only took the Grotto path, like you said, likely because he has the teleporter, but is making a save to do his Swamp entry, which means that JHobz is almost certainly going to find the Sunstone very, very shortly. JHobz doesn't have Stomp, but that doesn't matter. You can use the Frog to get past both barricades. Meanwhile, Ronnie is making a rather surprising play into Sorrow Pass early.
Sounds like he... looks like he rather was going to, but it has instead. Oh no, okay. I thought he was reconsidering, but all he was reconsidering is his direction. He's going to instead do this path that takes him down or right and around into the inverted porcupine intestine. But
why do you think he's doing this as opposed to going to the left from the TP?
It's a lot easier with the skills he has. It is just much easier to take that path. He can he doesn't have a lot of like I just honestly think it's easier with these skills, and it means he can drop into Valley afterwards.
Yeah.
And he can Kidu.
Well, I was gonna say, as far as like being thorough and you know, when someone considers themselves in go mode, or is go mode is fluid. I guess it's fluid in any randomizer, but like when you are in go mode, depends on not only your availability of keys and skills, but how comfortable you are with different tricks. So right now, both runners have everything they need to finish the final escape. They can break barricades with Charge Flame. They have Bash. It can be done even if it's not the easiest thing in the world. So then the only other question is, can I get to every tree? Can I get every key? Ronnie already has the Sunstone. He knows the Water Vein is in Grove, so he can get the Water Vein. JHobz is the opposite, and except that he has no idea where the Sunstone is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we see that Sunstone on Clue 6 or Clue 9. And I'm also curious to see whether JHobz is going to continue further up the Ginso tree in search of either double jump or charge jump after he finds Bash. I'd be a little surprised to see it.
If I was a gambling man, I would say that JHobz is definitely going past the Bash tree, and the reason is that he's JHobz, and he always goes past the Bash tree.
That is true.
I'm joking, but in a much realer sense, I'm not joking.
All right. Well, on the level that you're not joking, I would say that the scenario in which I could see him not continuing up is if he finds one or both of those before the tree.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we know where Stomp is, and it's not in the Ginso tree. Feather's another very valuable pickup, which seems to commonly be the target of searching in Ginso for whatever reason, but Feather is already been found. So yeah, could be Charge Jump. JHobz already has the Sorrow Teleporter as well, which is another potential reason to keep searching.
Yeah, we'll see how he does with this mini boss. Goes for a Charge Flame redirect on the shot, but it sort of plonks right over instead of returning quite the way he wanted. Definitely a mini boss fight we're having here.
It certainly is.
Seen JHobz kill the mini boss faster in all skills.
Well, I feel like we've been talking about JHobz a lot. What does Ronnie need to finish the rest of the game?
Ronnie needs his Water Vein. I think that's it. He's just gotten the Charge Flame tree. His 3 trees left are Climb Tree, Grenade Tree, neither of which are going to pose him problems, unless he's not comfortable with any of the ways of getting to the Grenade Tree, but that seems incredibly unlikely. So what I would expect to see from Ronnie is now he's going to search the entire Hollow Grove left to right, and then once he finds the Water Vein, he'll head into the Ginso tree. Yes, that is the tree.
Looks like Ronnie is floating up, so he might only be checking the initial health cell here in Horrorfields, but the entire Horrorfield is classified as Grove, which means that from Ronnie's perspective, the Water Vein could be anywhere in here. So he's going to continue up or continue right.
It's also all in logic, right? Like Glide
Yes.
and Batch is enough to put all of this in logic. Even without wall interaction, there 3 out of the 4 pickets in here are actually that elemental is a jerk.
Yeah, he is. Also, JHobz is continuing in the Ginso tree, roughly as expected. Hit himself with a projectile, so he has to go.
He doesn't have Stomp, which is really unlucky because Stomp saves so much time in the second half of the Ginso tree.
Well, and the reason JHobz doesn't have Stomp is that he hasn't gone to Grotto at all yet, so he also doesn't have the double jump tree.
Yeah, that is right. He hasn't been there at all because, like, on his first trip, he's going to grab that from the drop cell unless he's already in full go mode. But yeah, it's really a shame because Stomp can break every single one of these barriers here, and that includes all the way up to the barriers that block access to the core rooms. So you can skip a redirection puzzle with it too.
Well, speaking of just continuing in Ginso, JHobz will almost certainly not continue past the second Keystone door, although he might, since JHobz has to do Swamp area as well. I hope he doesn't. Of course, JHobz doesn't know this, but I hope he doesn't, because if JHobz goes to Swamp through the Ginso escape, good. He wouldn't get the Sunstone along the... You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. The Sunstone's in that path, like the upper path between Grotto and Swamp, so it really would be bad if he just took the Ginso escape to Stomp and then left, because it would mean that it'd be a while before he found that pickup. Actually, one thing that concerns me is if he gets the pickup too soon, he might end up concluding that it's likely to be in the clean water area, and he might like maybe do like a bit of a search for clean water before. Oh, Hobbs, that bash or that bramble is just doesn't give enough height for you to bash all the way up to it from Death Gauntlet. He gets through and clears it as Ronnie is leaving Horufield, but not choosing to Death Warp out. Interestingly.
Here's my concern looking in. Ronnie is definitely in the lead right now, and that's wonderful for Ronnie. I'm wondering how Hobbs can catch up. If Hobbs, like you said, went to Swamp first, he would probably find the Sunstone and know that he doesn't have to be extremely thorough anymore, given that he can pretty much finish the seed with his current skill set. But Hobbs going to Grotto first, in some sense makes sense, right? Because it's a very dense area. But it means Hobbs is probably going to spend quite a bit of time checking pickups down here that he doesn't need. He'll get Stomp, which is nice, but other than that...
So I think a chance for Hobbs would look like this. There being multiple incredibly good skills buried in Grotto that Ronnie didn't find, and the combination of those making him want to take that route into Stomp. I think that's what it would take, because Ronnie just found his water vein. He just needs to just go from tree to tree and then to the final escape. He can... I would be incredibly surprised if he had any reservations about any of, like, anything between him and the end of the game. And like the top clock is really ticking for JHobz.
It is. It is. Hobbs is now dropping down into Grotto, well, almost dropping down. Decided to check the water vein and not the experience pickup to the right, maybe feeling that pressure a little bit. There's Stomp, something that Hobbs will be happy to have because it'll make access to Light Grenade and access to the right side of the map much easier, although they already have the Sorrow Teleporter, don't they?
They do already have the Sorrow Teleporter, but I mean, Stomp, like, he couldn't use the Sorrow Teleporter before he got Stomp, right? He doesn't have Charge Jump, so that unlocks that part of the map for him, and that might actually be what he feels like he has to take his go mode. Though maybe not. I mean, this was a bit of a jet seed. Like, it is crazy to me that we're only 30 minutes in. But I don't... The way Ronnie got through it was not the kind of thing that I would maybe expect if I were Hobbs looking at the evidence that I had, right? Like, because you don't usually expect when you have the Grotto Teleporter immediately going from lower BR, or from like the teleporter room in BRB, just into lower Grotto right away with that double bash trick. So I'd be interested to ask Hobbs where he felt like his opponent was at various times.
Yes, we'll see if we get the chance to talk. Ronnie is fast, heading through the Ginso tree. Nice double bash trick to avoid waiting on an extra cycle on that projectile flower. Meanwhile, Hobbs did check, or excuse me, skip a number of checks down in Grotto, which of course I'm happy to see. For his decision, I'd be curious to talk to him about his thought process. It's probably because he just knows how close to the end they are, but I don't want to assume that, so we can talk to Hobbs about that later. One way or another, it's certainly good for Hobbs' prospects.
Yeah, I think Stomp was just his go mode, but I do think that, like, it's gonna be... This is not looking great, one way or another. Ronnie's got a ton of ability points, and he'll be able to grab Ultra Defense. Probably. I actually haven't seen where his points have been. No real reason to level up that many things when you don't have dash for air and charge dash, and you don't have double jump for triple jump.
Can we take a moment, Icos, to acknowledge how Keystone or Mapstone starved both runners have been? Both Ronnie and Hobbs have only activated 2 maps, even though there are 5 on the right side of the map alone. Hobbs is about to go get his 3rd one. It's just very, very light as far as Mapstones are concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I think in like 30 minutes into a seed, when you've had this much area to cover, like, your mapstone count can just vary wildly, because you won't head by any mapstone altar more than once, because you can pick up everything in every area you go to right when you get there. That's just how bash grenade seeds end up working, right? So it's really just, did I get a mapstone by the time I was there? Because, like, they've found a fair number of mapstones, but because of the ordering, it didn't matter nearly as much, because they just found the mapstones after they'd been to the altars, and revisiting an area just to turn in a mapstone when they had this kind of so many more dense areas available to them doesn't make a lot of sense. So I actually think that this is just
I'm sorry, I want to interrupt you. Ronnie just got through the laser very, very quickly. JHobz got through it as well, but did he have to spend... I think he did it... To be honest, I looked away for a moment. I was worried that JHobz was going to zombie or using both ability points and then have to watch this cutscene. That's not the case, because he does have one remaining, which I'm sure JHobz was acutely aware of, given that him and Rebel, very nearly ran into that same thing when Rebel also had to do a single ability point zombie Ori. The point is that Ronnie made it to Light Grenade first. JHobz will be there very, very shortly. But if you look at the trackers, Ronnie now has both dungeon keys and only has 1 tree to go. JHobz still has to, after Light Grenade, get 4 more trees and find the Sunstone.
Yeah, I think this is just looking great for Ronnie, and it's really his race to lose at this point. He doesn't have maybe the skills he necessarily would love to have for Misty, because dash in Misty is just the nicest thing. But I mean, he's got bash, he's got glide, he's got grenade even. He will be absolutely fine here, and he can do it pretty quickly. He can do lots of just like bash gliding and get plenty of horizontal speed.
Yeah, so while Ronnie's heading through Misty, JHobz teleported to Swamp because he knows the Sunstone isn't... No, he didn't. I'm sorry. I thought he went to Swamp. I was mistaken. He went to Grotto, which means he's probably going to Swamp anyway. Since he went to Grotto, it means that JHobz is probably going to go through the bottom route, right? Or, I'm sorry, the top route to Swamp.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have the option of the top route because... or the bottom route, because he doesn't have... Oh, just kidding. I lied. He can check the stuff here, but if he can't really go in unless he wants to take a really miserable damage boost swim. He doesn't have charge jump and therefore can't break, and he kills all of the spiders, so I don't think he's looking... I think he's just checking stuff.
That's what I think as well. I'm very curious what JHobz is looking for, because like we talked a little bit before about well, we sort of hinted at why Ronnie was ahead. What's interesting to me is that JHobz effectively has everything that Ronnie has at his disposal apart from Climb, and he's had them in roughly the same order. JHobz found Stomp after Ronnie, but that was about it. What Ronnie did is he used those skills to go left side a lot sooner and to go to Swamp a lot sooner.
I think Ronnie was just more comfortable with this as a go mode, and I think part of that is probably that he found Stomp, or the Sunstone, but I think even without that Sunstone find, this is a reasonable skill set to say, okay, I'm in Lumberjack mode, and I think Ronnie correctly made that call, and either JHobz is less comfortable with that skill set or just wanted to check more things, but it is not really working out very well for him.
Well, JHobz is now in his Valley Swamp entry. There's the Sunstone. So JHobz's key search is over. If he wasn't in full go mode before, he certainly should be now, pulling off the nice double bash, and it did not phase through. Sometimes it can phase through multiple times. Not today,
I always get really worried whenever I see that Swamp entry, because that thing phasing through is just, the worst.
You are not wrong. But yeah, Ronnie now has all 10 skill trees, so he's going to head to the end of the game, which means Ronnie will likely be walking away with a victory. JHobz, meanwhile, has 3 trees to go after clearing out Light Grenade. He will be at the Stomp tree soon. That he's going to have to... I'm sorry, he has 4 trees remaining, sorry. So he's going to grab the Stomp tree soon. Then he has to go over to the left side, probably using the Sorrow Teleporter if JHobz remembers that he has it.
Yeah, I would expect him to remember that, honestly. And, you are technically correct in that he has 3 trees and 1 feather remaining.
Yes, that is true.
And we saw Ronnie open up his ability menu at the Sorrow Teleporter. He has Ultra Defense. He decided to spend his remaining points on Ultra Magnet, which I kind of like. It's the probably most value you're going to get out of those ability points at this point. He's going to do a nice... ooh, that was a little low, but he's going to glide just fine into some elementals. But
you get a health refill, like, when you activate the Final Escape anyway, so as long as Ronnie's to the door, that's all that matters. He doesn't even need energy because the game auto-saves for door warp.
Yep, okay, he's getting the Banelane up so he can get a nice glide, but he correctly realizes that wouldn't have been quite enough to glide across, and rather than let himself glide into lava, he's gonna just manually set it up with Grenade, and he is here at his door warp as JHobz teleports into Sorrow, and it looks like he's going to be taking the same general route as Ronnie was. He's gonna be doing the Stomp.
This particular Stomp trick is very precise. I don't know why, but it's like ultra precise. JHobz got his second try. That's quite impressive, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I would be saving in his shoes, but maybe he's gonna wait until he gets up here to save. Oh, yeah, he's got enough health. He'll be fine. Yeah. Okay, good. I actually really liked what Ronnie did when he got there, which was he, from that wall, just used climbed and then threw a quick bash grenade, which I mean, KBM player privilege, but just use that to get the horizontality and not have to deal with those spikes even a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, yeah, I have nothing to add. You are correct.
All right,
Ronnie is Ronnie's into the final escape. We'll see if he has any problems. Ronnie has a lot of health. He has bash grenades. Bash being the really important skill there. The water isn't clean, but that's only going to deal 5 to 6 damage, so it should still be okay. Nice single wall jump there to get around the little lip by Ronnie. That's not the most.
It's much harder than it looks.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like I've definitely been stuck under that ledge before. But yeah,
Ronnie also used Charge Flame to break the barricade and then went back over to the left, so good knowledge to know how to avoid fire damage.
Yeah, he's definitely really showing off like how to do the escape with these skills, just like in the safest possible way. There we go. He just like single grenade bash skips that kill plane. He'll just like casually be able to make his way up this wall, and he can either switch to using rocks or his own bash grenades to get up, and he'll be holding right, and that will be the victory for UncleRonny.
GG to Ronnie. This will put him at 2-1, and JHobz, once he finishes out, will be at 1-2. So he's still not out of the tournament, which is the good news. Like you said, this puts you in Hydra land, but not but you're not out.
Elimination land, yeah. I mean, there are other people in the 1 and 2 besides Hydra, and you could get matched up with them, and that would be much better, probably. But you know,
that is true.
Hydra wins, and you're 2-2, and Hydra's 2-2. Man, there's just no good outcome.
It's a rough landscape, to be sure. Anyway, so Ronnie hasn't finished yet, which means that JHobz, watching the SRL chat, assuming he is watching SRL, which I believe he does, doesn't know that he has lost, although he'll know it soon. JHobz is now currently sitting at 9 out of 10 trees. I'm guessing that will see him skip everything in Misty along the way. Yep, there he goes.
Yeah, and he's controller player not making fine use of bash grenade, or like just bash grenade along the ground to save that little bit of extra time.
Yeah, doing a series of quick bash glides along the ground is not a lot faster than running. It's faster with feather, I guess. Yeah,
Sigma apparently timed it with nothing. It's like 10% faster if you drop none of the bashes, which of course means it's actually just going to be a little bit slower. That's how things are. But glide helps a bit.
Anyway, GG to Ronnie, final time of sub 40. That's a 39:45. That didn't feel like a jet seed because dash wasn't involved, but it still was sort of a jet seed.
Yeah, I feel like if we'd had double jump, this would have felt a lot faster just because of how much that would have meant in terms of like skill synergy. But this was still like a very solid, like a straightforward seed. And like, yeah, like you said, the only thing stopping it from being like a jet seed was the fact that their movement speed wasn't much faster than walking, because like it was not a complicated or difficult seed. It was go here, get skill, do things, go here, get skill, do things.
Correct. I think JHobz has been playing well on Bash Grenade, given that he's on controller. The hard part about Bash Grenade on control isn't the quick bash glides. You can do those pretty much just by tossing a grenade and pressing Y, and unless your arc was ridiculously high, you will effectively always grab it right away. The hard part playing Bash Grenade on controller is if you ever have to aim longer, because there is a limit to how fast you can change your aim.
Yeah.
So even if you play optimally on controller, you are likely losing 1 to 3 seconds every time you have to aim.
Yeah, and that just can get really frustrating. And looks like we are seeing that because JHobz doesn't have anything left besides the escape, he doesn't really feel a need to go through with that, and he's just going to forfeit now that he's seen that the game, his opponent has ended, which definitely very understandable. It's not like he has anything left to prove. He knows he can do that escape. We know he can do that escape.
It's something that we, being just the whole randomizer community, talk about all the time. In some respects, Go mode is by far the most boring part of the seed. Like every all skills runner has done the final escape a trillion times. Granted, you do it with a different skill set in randomizer, but this skill set isn't unique enough that it's going to pose a particularly interesting challenge. You know what I mean? So it's like JHobz could play for another 4 or 5 minutes, finish out the seed, but he's like, I don't need the practice, and that's totally okay.
Yeah. Definitely. So it looks like we are going to be able to get an interview.
Yep, I'm gonna. I also just want to say quickly before we pull them in, JHobz also said that Smashy, our restreamer, might be in a bit of a time crunch. So that was not just JHobz saying "screw it, I don't want to finish." That was also just, you know, a bit of a courtesy thing. But anyway, I'm gonna pull in JHobz and Ronnie.
All right.
Hello, you guys. GG's.
Yo, GG to Ronnie.
Yo. Yeah, GG to both of you. But I always like to just ask, and Ronnie, we can start with you. What's your general impression of that seed?
Ronnie, I think your mic might not be working.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
There it is. There it is. So yeah, how did you feel about that seed? Was it a good seed or was it a bad seed, Ronnie?
Any seed without dash is an awful seed, to be honest. But yeah, other than that, it was a good seed.
What about you, JHobz? Good versus bad?
It was fine. I think I like checked too much or something. I figured it was probably fairly close, but that Ronnie was in the lead for most of the race, pretty much.
That's somewhat accurate, yeah.
Yeah. Reasonable description of what happened, honestly.
Well, JHobz, I want to ask you the next question, specifically regarding Bash Grenade. You don't switch to keyboard, mouse, or anything, right?
No.
So, what's the hardest part of playing Bash Grenade on controller? Is there any particular way you practice that?
Just do a bunch of them. Find binds that are comfortable and stuff. The most annoying part to me, maybe not the hardest part, but the most annoying part is that whenever you bash glide off of something, but you want to throw a grenade in the same direction that you're bash gliding, you can't. Because that's just how the game works. It actually reverses Ori's direction whenever you bash off of anything. And so yeah, that's really annoying. It's not like a hard thing to work around, it's just a pain.
Huh. All right. Well, I have a question for you, Ronnie. I actually really liked a lot of your early game routing, and I wanted to ask you about one specific move you made. So after you did the lower black root teleporter area, you took that frog into, you double bashed that frog up and used it to stomp the spike. First of all, did you intend to kill it? And I guess second of all, what was the general idea behind breaking into lower grotto that way?
Only after I started bashing him, I remembered that I had the grotto TP, but either way, I think it's faster because it gets you right down to the double jump tree area. So I was happy with that.
Yeah,
Decision.
definitely. Yeah, I mean, I really like it as a decision because it saves you a teleport animation, which is like 20 seconds, like an alternative teleport animation, which is like 20 seconds right there. Especially with wind and glide, it doesn't like lock you out of anything.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it had stomp or not. Maybe I forgot I had.
You actually got stomp from the ability cell right after. Like it was the connection between grotto and blackroot.
Oh yeah, then maybe I shouldn't have done that because I killed the frog.
Yeah, we were commenting about that, but it turned out not to matter at all.
Well, JHobz, my next question is for you. You mentioned a moment ago that you thought maybe you checked a little bit too much. What went into your decision making as far as deciding where to go first? For example, you went to grotto quite late in the seed.
Yeah, once I got my clue that Water Vein was in Grove, we were basically in skill go mode like the entire seed, so I wasn't really that concerned about finding more skills as soon as I found Glide. It was like, it would have been nice to have Stomp, which is why I'm glad I did end up finding it. But other than that, I was looking for 8 keystones. Or no, I was looking for 12 keystones until I had done Ginso, and then I needed 8 more to finish the seed. And my routing was just, let me keep checking stuff that might have the potential to give me like charge jump from Misty, while not being too like out of the way. Also, I think I still needed like 1 more health or something for a while to be able to finish the escape.
Mm-hmm. One more question to you, Hobbs. You're a big fan of continuing into Ginso past the Bash Tree, which you did. Did any part of you consider doing the entire final escape, or was that out of the question?
I definitely considered it because it was going to be really slow to go back to Swamp, so I thought about using it as just a teleport to the tree, more or less, or teleport to the Stomp Tree. But it was going to be really slow with just Bash Grenade. Like if you have rocket jumps or charge jumps, that makes the water escape a lot faster. And on top of that, like I said, we were in skill go mode already, and all I really needed were trees and keystones so that I wouldn't have to dupe, which I ended up finding all the keystones I needed, but it didn't really matter. I also forgot for a while that I had Sorrow TP, so that was kind of a big factor.
Yeah, that's understandable. Okay, so we'll close up in just a minute. I'd like to ask sort of the obvious question. Ronnie, you are now 2-1, meaning that you only have to win one of your next 2 matches to advance. Do you feel confident about doing so, and are there any players that you would like to face?
I don't know how confident I am for 2-1, but even if I end up at 2-2, I'm feeling confident winning that and going to 3-2. Yeah, I'm not sure who's at 2-2. 2-1, sorry.
I'd have to check. And same question to you, Hobbs. How do you feel about definitely facing Hydra next round?
Yeah, I was gonna say Hydra's in 1 too, so that's rough. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think if I face Hydra, it'll be basically similar to this match, where I think he'll have a gigantic execution level on me, and that will probably be the deciding factor for the most part.
Well, we will find out. GG to both of you, though. That was a fun one to watch.
Thanks.
Thank you.
GG.
Yeah, GG, Ronnie.
Yeah, so that'll about do it for us. Thank you to Grease and Skull for helping on tracking, and thank you to Smashy for restreaming. And Aiko, where are we going next?
We are going to Speed Gaming 3, where there is a 2v2 match between Team Heck, which is Oshi and Shed, versus Team Half the Baguette, which is Muffin now, and Dedu. And that match has just started, so definitely head over there and check it out. But yeah, that'll be all from us.
See ya.